GHX is changing the entire seed experience to maximize your yield potential. And we have the numbers to prove it. Across 20 trials in Iowa, G11 V76D brand out-yielded Pioneer products by a 4.6 bushel per acre average in 2024. Get more local yield results at goldenharvestseeds.com/corn yield.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. I wasn't, but now I'm ready. Downtown Billings, 31 degrees out there. Going to be a pretty nice day. Here's a look at First News. It's fair, it's accurate. You get the damn truth. The world right now, folks, is a collective mess. South Korea's opposition parties have submitted a motion now to impeach their president. He's facing pressure to leave office hours after he ended a short-lived martial law that prompted troops to encircle their parliament before the lawmakers voted to lift it. Impeaching Yoon would require the support of two-thirds of their parliament. Motion submitted jointly by their main opposition party in South Korea. Things are getting testy over there. Jewish settlers mounted a string of attacks on Palestinian towns in the West Bank overnight, burning homes, clashing with Israeli troops. That's still a wreck. The West Bank has seen a surge in violence since the start of this war over a year ago. Over the past dozen years, Syrian militant leader Abu Muhammad al-Golani has worked to remake his image and the insurgency he commands. Things are getting hot and contested now in Syria. They're on the move. And then we have Russia and the Ukraine. We have China in the China Sea. We have all kinds of problems, and where is our leadership? Where is our president? Well, he was finding ways to celebrate trains in Angola yesterday. He took $1 billion of your money with him, and he gave it to Angola to help refurbish 800 miles of train lines. Why? Those train lines serve the mines in Africa that serve the needs of Joe Biden and his climate enthusiasts for electric EV batteries here in the United States. So the president went over there and reassured that all the 7 and 8 and 9-year-olds will have job security now working in the mines of Africa. And with more trains, they'll have to work a little harder. Who's running our country? Does anybody know? Who is in the White House? Who's making calls? No one has seen Kamala Harris.
No
one. Biden, he's in Angola. He doesn't know what day it is. In the time of these tumultuous events going on in America, who is running our country? In the meantime, the person who will run in on January 20th, President-elect Donald Trump, met with his pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday with rising questions from others about his ability to lead the Pentagon. Hegseth said he's going to sit down with every senator that wants to meet, as Trump tapped him, as he is a highly decorated military man, wrote books on wokeness in the U.S. military. He has denied sexual assault allegations that no matter what nominee is brought up during President Trump, they always bring in a sexual allegation.
They do. You're right.
Doesn't matter. Remember what they did to Kavanaugh?
Mm-hmm.
Look what they did to Clarence Thomas. They always bring in something like that. And nobody brings that up about the Democrats that are nominated or even Joe Biden.
Biden got passed.
Yes. None of them. He thinks he'll be able to confirm. A Missouri man's been executed for sexually assaulting and killing a 9-year-old girl, dumping her body in a sinkhole outside of town. Christopher Collins, friend of the family of the 4th grader Rowan Ford, lived with the family for several months prior to the death. Sometimes help her with her homework. She knew him as Uncle Chris. Well, Uncle Chris was sexually assaulting her, killed her. It's the 23rd execution in the U.S. this year. By the way, yesterday, there was still some backlash and some praise for Joe Biden's pardoning of Hunter Biden for all of his crimes. One Democratic congressman yesterday said the president, though, did not go far enough. He wanted the president to pardon every single person who was on death row in the United States. Said there's 40 or 50 of them waiting to be executed. Wanted to pardon them. Full pardon for these killers. Senate Democrats reelected one of the oldest guys in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, to be their party leader again. No opposition. They stick together. Dick Durbin was reelected in the number 2 spot. Amy Klobuchar became the number 3 spot as, once again, the new, younger, progressive Democrat Party continues to put these ancient characters in powers of position in Washington. Oh, and by the way, yesterday, December 3rd, we got another result from the election. Democrat Adam Gray was able to win U.S. House, California's 13th congressional district, beating the Republican incumbent out there, as it took just a little over a month to get all their votes counted in that one. Donald Trump's lawyers have formally asked a judge to throw out his non-disclosure agreement trial. Trump's lawyers told the Manhattan judge, Juan Merchan, who's a hack anyway for that party, been working for Biden for years, donating money. His daughter was on his campaign, for goodness sakes. Want him to throw it out. They argue continuing the case would present an unconstitutional disruption to the institution of the presidency. Prosecutors said they're going to fight any efforts to dismiss it. They'll try to impeach President Trump the minute they get control or have the ability to do so. They've already tried it before. 2 other times. They'll do it again. Supreme Court continues to hear arguments today in a transgender rights case of the Tennessee law that bans gender-affirming care for the youngest of our children. Their decision isn't expected for several months. Could affect similar laws already enacted by 25 other states that regulates the lives of transgender people when it comes to sports, which bathrooms they can use. However, in Montana, they voted not to ban transgenders from women's bathrooms yesterday, and there were a bunch of Republicans that voted for that. European unions agreed to delay introduction of a new rule that would ban the sale of products that would lead to deforestation. Caved into demands from some of the producer nations, and that 27-nation bloc, officials said the EU member states reached an agreement in principle following weeks of haggling whether the rules would be watered down even further. The law is aimed at preserving the forest on a global scale and would disallow some forest-related products, too. Oh, hell, they got rid of plastics. They get rid of paper. I don't know what you're going to do. But that's what they're doing in the European Union. World stocks are mixed overnight. Political drama. South Korea made South Korea's index fall 1.4%. Yesterday, U.S. stocks tiptoed to some more records at a quiet session. The S&P 500 was up 0.1 of a point. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was actually down yesterday. And the NASDAQ Composite added 0.4 of a point yesterday as well. We told you about McDonald's. Federal government closed their investigation into that E. coli outbreak tied to their Quarter Pounder hamburgers. They said there is no longer a safety risk. That outbreak began in October, sickened 104 people, 14 states, 34 hospitalized. The FDA said one person in Colorado died. 4 people developed kidney disease complications. They linked it to the yellow onions distributed in California-based Taylor Farms. And the restaurants, Colorado, Kansas, Wyoming, Montana, others, pulled Quarter Pounders from their restaurants until they could get new onions in there. If you need work, still a lot of jobs available. New job numbers yesterday, 7.7 million jobs are still available. And last month, job openings rose sharply, especially in professional business services. That category includes engineers, managers, accountants. Restaurant, hotel, still a lot of jobs. Technology industry available, but still about 1.86 million people would rather collect unemployment than take one of the 7.7 million jobs that are available. President Trump said not under his watch he's going to block a Japanese steelmaker from trying to buy United States steel, pledging to use tax incentives and others to keep our steel processors owned and here in America. Joe Biden also opposed Nippon Steel's purchase of U.S. steel. Poor performance by General Motors, Chinese joint ventures, forcing the company to write down assets and take a restructuring charge that will total more than $5 billion in the fourth quarter this year. It'll cut the value of their stake in that company, by the way. General Motors will take a $2.7 billion hit during the fourth quarter. Not good right now in the auto industries. Things are not looking good. A person with knowledge of the meaning said NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell met with Congress, speak about security issues with drones on game days. Met with them yesterday There was a stoppage during a game in Baltimore last January because a drone violated restricted airspace. Another game in Baltimore in November was delayed twice because of a drone. The NFL said there were 2,845 drone flights in restricted airspace during games in 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a security threat, too. The FAA prohibits drones from flying within 3 nautical miles of stadiums during a major sporting event. The ban starts 1 hour before the game and extends 1 hour after. The FAA banned drones within a radius of 30 nautical miles of Allegiant Stadium for the Super Bowl back in February, but doesn't matter. People were still flying them. Hell, they were spotting big drones over New Jersey and the East Coast yesterday and the day before at night. Nobody knows what they are or where they're coming from. Another sports figure in the news today, Tiger Woods. He couldn't offer much yesterday on any timetable or how the negotiations are going with Saudi leaders on Live Golf. Woods is the tournament host for the Hero World Challenge this week. His only role at the Albany Golf Club in the Bahamas. He's played there since 2019, but he's still recovering from surgery on his lower back, so he said he wasn't tournament sharp yet, but he is still very involved in negotiations between a private investment fund in Saudi Arabia that wants to become a minority investor into the PGA Tour. And they haven't quite figured out how to, that's kind of like Nippon Steel wanting to buy USS Steel.
Right.
And, you have the Saudi Arabians, LIV Golf. Can you imagine the sand traps? If Saudi Arabia folks they're a little north of town humor for you. They would be huge, wouldn't they, Mark?
They would.
They would have all kinds of... Oh, and this one's for you. Ice cream production in an Ecuadorian town that began in the mid-20th century by Franciscan nuns melting away. They sold their popsicles, creamy popsicles in a town to gather funds for the poor. They did it for years and years, but now people there in Salcedo, Ecuador, they're starting to experiment now with new flavors and techniques, as this town is famous among ice cream lovers. But now they're struggling. Power cuts threaten the future of their ice cream industry. Power cut. They're having power problems. And we're going to face power problems here in the U.S., folks. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. We've depleted our energy-producing abilities with, look at Colstrip, places like that. And, wind and solar isn't going to make up for that generation. Now it's getting serious because now it's affecting ice cream production. And they've had daily power outages out there that have intensified so much that some of their power outages last 14 hours a day now. Hydroelectric plants produce 70 to 80% of all of Ecuador's electricity. But they're struggling to come up with alternatives now. Well, and, coal, natural gas, stuff like that. We're tearing down our hydroelectric plants on the rivers in Oregon. We tore down 4 of them. It's going to be a problem, folks. And people really won't think about it until it starts affecting ice cream.
Yeah.
Then you know what HIT is going to hit the fan when the ice cream production starts going down. So, it's coming. Cat Country News Time is 6:45. Sports and weather next.
In sports, Major League Baseball, one of the things I don't care for about the game is everybody has a different size payroll. And so the bigger market teams can spend more money. And Juan Soto is a free agent, and they think he's going to get about $630 million. And he's either going to get it from the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, or the Blue Jays. And those are the only teams that can afford him.
Another Ohtani-type contract.
Yeah, and he's only 26, and so...
Yeah, it's funny. Last night I was watching that baseball by Ken Burns.
Oh, yeah.
And they talked about when free agency happened. And the 2 big players in it, the first ones were Dave McNally and Mike Messerschmidt, and they were the first 2 to play all year without a contract when they first initiated the free agency system.
Okay.
And but I didn't know that about Dave McNally, Billings boy, and he was one of the first ones. But it changed baseball. But they also had on there the 1975 World Series with the Reds and what that did. You know how they say Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were responsible for the resurgence and the development of the NBA. Mm-hmm. Those 2, they broke it wide open.
Right. They
said the 1975 World Series with the Reds and the Boston Red Sox, they were responsible for the explosion of baseball. That World Series. The final game of that World Series, after Game 6, which was phenomenal. The final game of the World Series, Game 7 in Boston, had 75 million viewers in 1975. Wow. That was the largest viewed sporting event of all time, and it stayed that way until the Super Bowls down the road finally were able to expand and catch up. But that was its mark on baseball.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Similar topic. I saw an interview with Charles Barkley in the NBA, and he gave credit to Magic and Bird for raising the popularity of the game. But he says, every time I see Michael Jordan, I say thank you, because if Michael Jordan hadn't gotten his Nike shoe deal, which changed the industry, he said, none of you players today would have been making any money in endorsements. So if you played after Michael, you better thank him.
Oh, yeah. Those guys did a lot. Well, we're going to be at 40 today, partly sunny, a little cooler than yesterday, but then we get back into the 50s. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Our normal high this time of year is 39, and so we're going to be above normal all week. 31 out there right now, 6:49. That's what's happening. Informative, funny. You know, we could really all use a little of this.